I don't think any man or woman should run for president unless, number one, they know exactly why they would want to be president, and two, they can look at the folks out there and say, I promise you, you have my whole heart, my whole soul, my energy, and my passion to do this. And I'd be lying if I said that I knew I was there.
And welcome back to the Daily Wrap. That, of course, was the Vice President, Joe Biden, earlier this month appearing on Late Night with Stephen Colbert and sharing his thoughts on running for president. Now, right now, understandably, the Vice President may not be quite ready to decide if a run for the Oval Office is the right thing for him. But that's not stopping many Americans from hoping he just might change his mind. According to the latest NBC Wall Street Journal poll, 40% of Americans have a positive impression of Vice President Biden. And in head-to-head matchups with several GOP candidates, he seems to come out on top, even more so than current Democratic frontrunner Hillary Clinton. Now, according to the poll, the vice president beats former Florida Governor Jeb Bush 48% to 40%, Carly Fiorina 47% to 41%, Dr. Ben Carson 49% to 41%, and GOP frontrunner Donald Trump a whopping 56% to 35%. So, is Vice President Biden the Democrats' best shot at keeping the White House? Joe Concha.
Let's DVR our moment out in the newsroom during commercial, where we were talking about this, and we came to the conclusion that who do you most want to have a beer with? Right? Light beer, I'm gaining weight. And it's Joe Biden. And sometimes presidential elections come down to something, we analyze it to death and it comes down to something that simple.
Well,
who can I live with for the next 8 years, 4 years?
It's so much the truth. I always say, Carol, that running for the President of the United States has much more in common with running for a high school senior class than people ever want to admit.
I say this all the time and nobody listens. Nobody listens. Why don't they listen to us? It's the same thing. I mean, it doesn't matter if they promise that you're going to get a hot tub in the lunchroom or no homework. People want that popular kid. We said that that's why Romney wasn't a contender against Obama, and that's why people will like Joe Biden. Now, I will have to say, I wouldn't personally want to have a beer with him because of the whole creepy Uncle Joe kind of thing. But for a lot of people, I think that they might.
You do get a massage out of it, though. So it's nice.
It's okay. I'm good on the massage front. But I do have to say that the Trump-Biden debate is the debate that America deserves.
Absolutely. But I have to point this out, though. You know, it's funny how people can be very popular in these polls right up to the day they announce they're going to actually run. Look at Hillary's polls when she was Secretary of State. When she was out of politics, she was the most popular woman in America. Not so much today.
You know the difference, right?
Tell me.
You can't teach talent. That's what they say about people on TV, and that's what they say about politics. And Joe Biden, his performance on Colbert, you can't teach that. That was authentic. That was genuine. He is genuinely torn whether to run or not. And people at home saying, my God, I can really relate to what he's going
because it was real.
Exactly. And if Hillary tried the same thing, people would say, like, oh, this is all part of her trying to be warm.
Although I don't know that that's true. Think back to 2008. Hillary Clinton gets beaten in Iowa. She goes back up to New Hampshire. She has that moment where she starts crying.
No one will buy it this time around.
I mean, and Joe Biden is a sympathetic character. He's been through so much, and I think on a personal level, people relate to that. On Hillary's side, she's completely unrelatable, and people just don't like her. She doesn't have that likability factor. So I think it's very different for Hillary than it is for Vice President.
We talked about talent. There's also trust. And the numbers are upside down when it comes to Hillary, who's in the 30s in terms of trust, and Biden, who's near 60%.
So I got to switch gears on this a little bit because we really want to show everybody a bit of GOP presidential hopeful John Kasich, who's had to make the transition from lawmaker to governor. Now he sat down with our very own J.D. Hayworth and got pretty candid himself when asked what he had to do differently in his new role as a governor versus member of Congress.
When I first became governor, I still liked a few wisecracks and all that kind of stuff, but you learn over time it's just not worth it, because a bad wisecrack means you got 2 days to have to fix it, and you don't have the time to do that. So my mother said, not my mother, but my wife said one time when we were together, she said, you know, John, you're a dad, act like it. And so there's this period of growing up and maturing in those jobs.
Kasich's an interesting guy. Joe, I know that you're a longtime fan of the governor, and he has been your choice to be the next president. He does, in interviews like that, and I'm very anxious to see the rest of the interview, he shows a certain maturity that you would think would help him.
Yeah. Pragmatism isn't working in this election cycle, is what I've noticed. Fair. And if he were to debate Biden, we talk about Trump Biden, Kasich Biden would be the most civil campaign between those two. There'd be super PACs and everybody talking the dirty stuff, but those would be two people that you'd both root for.
So if you want to see more of that interview, and I highly recommend it, be sure to tune into Newsmax Prime tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern and see what JD, see his conversation. What is your pick for the 2016 nomination? Who's it going to be? Go to newsmaxpolls.com and let your voice be heard. And we're going to listen to those voices next when we read viewer comments. Stay right there.